This is a little more of a rant than anything else, because I've had a lot of people come in my comment section saying that some earphones aren't loud enough, or I've had some friends who've tested some earphones that I've been reviewing, and the first thing they've done is crank the volume all the way up to 100% and said, hey, this one's louder than this, I think I'll go with this at 100%. So this is not safe. This is not the way to go. If you are listening to TWS earphones or IEMs or headphones or speakers like this, it is much too loud for your ears. Something that got my goat the other day, I was scrolling through a few reels on Instagram, and there was a guy who popped up this thing about test your hearing, and this reel literally just played a frequency sweep from the low to high frequency range to let you see how old your ears are. Now, it's absolutely irrelevant. It's a dud test, because first of all, your phone speaker is not going to handle a lot of those frequencies. So it's lying to your ears. The next thing is, because it's playing off your phone, you can crank up the volume. So even higher frequencies that you think you're not hearing, you can always crank up the volume and even put the speaker to your ear and just say, hey, I heard it, so my ears are fine. This is not how a hearing test works. For that matter, I usually don't give credit to a lot of the hearing tests that are available in a lot of apps that come with some earphones. It's not the way to do a test. You need to meet an ENT specialist and an audiologist and go and sit in a quiet, sound-treated cabin to be able to test your hearing. Now, when it comes to being able to crank volume and test your ears, that's not how it works, because that is not checking your hearing sensitivity. And this is where the whole listening to your earphones at 80% volume and 100% volume kicks in, because you're supposed to be able to hear certain frequencies or tones during a test at a very soft decibel level. That is what your hearing sensitivity is. So if you are cranking your earphones up to a very loud volume, the chances are that your hearing sensitivity is short. Now, there is good news and there is bad news in this kind of situation, because the good news is there is a hope that this is not permanent and you've only been doing this recently. So if you lay off the loud volumes that you've been listening to in the last half an hour or 1 hour, you should regain hearing sensitivity to a certain extent. Whereas if you've been doing it for a prolonged period of time, I mean months or even years, the chances are you would have lost a lot of frequencies as well as hearing sensitivity. Now, what I'm telling you doesn't necessarily mean I'm talking to somebody in their 50s or 60s or 70s or 80s. I'm talking about people in their early 20s to even their early 30s, because a lot of people are always listening to headphones, always listening to earphones, and they're always usually cranking the volume up to drown out some noise. So if you're in a train, you're cranking it up to 80 or 90% to say, I don't listen to these people fighting, or the train on the tracks. This is not safe, because you're exposing your inner ear to that level of noise. Now, your ear is a very complicated structure in nature. It's not just the eardrum. Your inner ear, where your cochlea is, there are fine sort of hairs, like sort of cilia, that are each segment of it is listening to different frequencies. So as you know, the human ear can do 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz in most cases. Some people don't do 20. There are very rare occurrences where people can hear 22 and 24, but a lot of people are at 18,000 hertz to 20,000 hertz. Now, if you are exposed to certain volumes for a prolonged period of time, you can damage certain cilia. So once that is damaged, it's dead. There is no way of recovering. You can't correct your ears like you correct your eyes. You can't get a set of glasses for your ears. This is possible for your eyes, but your ears, there's no going back really. Once you've been exposed to loud sounds over a long period of time, if you listen to music for too long, or if you've been close to a truck that's had a pressure horn go off near your ear, the chances are that you've most likely taken a hit in that frequency range. Yamaha is the only company that has made, or should I say, bothered doing research about people's hearing, because they've dug into the WHO articles, they've done all sorts of research that they've had to do, only to find that people from their early 20s to their mid 30s have lost a significant amount of the hearing, because usually when they listen to music, they want a balanced sound where they have rich highs and heavy or thumpy bass. So what a lot of people do to listen to that, even in situations where they're traveling where it's noisy, they'll crank up the volume to compensate, or should I say eradicate the noise that's around them, and also get that highs and heavy thumping bass. So what Yamaha has done is they've got this thing called listening care in all of their products. Whether you're spending 4,000 to 5,000 on an entry level set of earphones or 40,000 on their higher end set of headphones, they have this thing called listening care, which boosts the lower range and upper range even at lower volumes from 5% all the way up to 50%, and then it sort of levels out. So you're not cranking the volume up on those headphones and earphones to get a sweet spot. The sweet spot always exists. So I haven't found anybody else who does this. Even while testing their Yamaha TW E3Bs, which are entry level, they're absolutely phenomenal set of entry level earphones considering how they sound. But I've never really gone past the 30 or 40% volume mark because it is loud enough. There is no need to go higher than that. In fact, even when I'm walking on the road, I don't go past 35% because it is loud enough. It is adequate. It is balanced. The passive isolation on that is good enough to not want to crank it so high. So all in all, don't screw up your ears because there's a whole lot of other health issues that could crop up if you do have hearing loss. So you can research about this. There's a lot of articles online. We live in an age where everything is accessible. So it's worthwhile doing some research about this and seeing what it's about. And if you do want to check and see how your ear health is, I would strongly recommend going to the nearest hospital near you just to meet an audiologist and figure out a graph as to how your ears are doing, because even understanding the frequencies you can hear will give you a better understanding of how you can tweak your EQ settings with your headphones or earphones so as to be able to understand, because you understand where you have the hearing loss. So nobody's ears are the same, even if you've got perfectly good ears, but it's good to understand where your ears sit exactly. So of course, remember to look after your ears and also pass on this message to all your loved ones, because hearing health is also important in the long run. And of course, thank you for tuning in for some sound advice.